feel like the biggest stress in my life right now is trying to overachieve in my studies and, make sure that I do better in school and overall just try to, make myself the best that I can be school-wise. And just everything that has to do with school right now is more of like the things that I'm mostly stressed about in my personal life.
School and my job.
Is probably schoolwork and, the end of school and final exams and everything.
I agree. And as a high school senior, I have to deal with college applications and making sure that everything I have is ready and, it's a lot of commitment. So that puts a lot of stress and anxiety in me.
Is probably being in a graduate program, so school.
It's definitely college and the thought of getting ready for it, like getting everything in order and making sure I'm mentally prepared for the workload.
Like school assignments, or school in general, having to make sure you try to do your best.
I do feel overwhelmed because it does affect my schoolwork, because sometimes I do have a hard time managing time management strategies and things like that, and knowing when to kind of step back. It also does affect my personal life because I get so stressed and irritable that I get irritable kind of with my relationships sometimes unintentionally, and I don't really have time to focus on my physical health or my mental health outside of schoolwork.
I have been overwhelmed to the point where it has leached into my personal life. I will experience heavy burnout, I will be exhausted, and sometimes I just won't have a personal life at all.
I've not felt overwhelmed that it has caused me to do poorly in school.
My health is just so affected right now at this point because of my stress levels and just stuff like that. It just gives me anxiety.
I often do feel overwhelmed, but I always make sure all my schoolwork is done properly and on time. And as for my personal life, I'm able to kind of relieve my stress with my friends. So either way, I always make it work.
I agree. I feel like in those stressful situations, I make sure that I have someone I'm able to talk to whenever I feel those moments, so it doesn't ever cross the boundary where it does affect my personal life or my schoolwork.
I have felt overwhelmed to the point where it would affect my mood and the way I acted towards my friends and my family.
Students are somewhat comfortable with talking about their mental health. It definitely is a lot more normalized to talk about burnout and depression and stuff like that, but there could still be work on being more open-minded to it.
I don't think students are, because they don't want to seem weak, or they don't want to ask for help because they're afraid of what other people think.
I do feel like students are becoming more comfortable talking about mental health because I think it's evident that it's kind of on the rise as a topic of discussion in the world.
I do think that students are comfortable talking about mental health to an extent, and I guess that they're able to talk about situations that are generalized and where everyone can relate to. Maybe not necessarily, they're more personal and more deep things that affect them mentally.
I feel like nowadays people are more open to talking about mental health because mental health was a very a taboo topic to talk about back in the days. But I feel like there's still a lot more learning to do to understand where it's coming from or how to cope with it.
Not a lot of students are comfortable talking about their mental health, but I think it's a thing that they should do.
I don't think they're comfortable at all because of just the social standards and things that other people just will be judgmental or just talk about them, or just maybe they just don't feel comfortable in general talking about or expressing their feelings. But there is a certain amount of people, which is very small amount, where they just do find somebody that is comfortable where they can share their personal thoughts and feelings and they can get help.
Something that helps me cope personally is just being by myself, being alone, so it lets me think about the situation and process it.
I agree. Sometimes I need to kind of take time for myself. But also at the same time, there's some situations where I do need to be with other people to help me de-stress as well. So it varies.
Getting up and doing something else, changing the scenery, or, taking some deep breaths.
Run, go outside, play basketball, or in general, just play video games or stuff at home that can take my mind off of what stresses me out.
Don't worry about it another day, another time. Just try to get some sleep and relax. maybe watch some TV and look at it again in a couple of hours.
And like telling myself, okay, like this all doesn't define you, just try your best.
Yoga helped me cope, and being with my friends and family.
The way that I cope with stress is by making sure to treat myself after doing a big assignment, or making sure to separate time for going out and being social, and also by sleeping and catching up on anything that I've missed while I'm busy doing work.